I am Sister Alice O'Brien. I was born to devout practicing Catholic parents in Amarillo, Texas on March the 9th, 1945. My parents had 5 children, and I was the middle child with a sister and brother who are older and 2 younger brothers. I went to Catholic school all my elementary and high school years. I was taught by Incarnate Word sisters, and from 6th to 9th grade, I was taught by Benedictine sisters. My parents raised me in the Catholic Church, and we practiced our faith regularly. Going to Catholic school enabled me to attend daily Mass as well as participate in regular liturgical celebrations. As I look back, I don't think I was fully appreciative of these opportunities. However, the teaching gave me a solid foundation in my faith, along with the good example of my parents. My sister left to join St. Scholastica Convent Monastery when I was only 5 years old after she graduated from high school. I don't remember the event, but I do remember going to visit her at St. Scholastica. I also remember her few visits home and watching her starch and pleat her coif on the dining room table. I remember thinking that the habit was so neat and that the convent was somewhat mysterious in that there were some places we were not allowed to go. When I was in the 8th grade, I was taught by the Benedictine sister, and it was then that I first thought about becoming a sister. When I mentioned this to sister, she encouraged me to graduate from high school and then think about it. I was disappointed by her advice, but decided to continue with my education. This was close to the time of the Second Vatican Council, and some changes were already taking place in the liturgy, for example, more singing, more use of English, etc. So I continued with my education and completed high school in 1963. I also met my husband and got married early in that year. Needless to say, I was not thinking of religious life at that time. My husband and I were married in the Catholic Church. He was Catholic and had 6 children and raised all of them in the church. It is difficult to determine when the marriage deteriorated. I was only 17 when we married, and he was 19 in the Air Force and away from home. We only knew each other for 6 months. Looking back, we were very immature and really did not know what a Catholic marriage meant. However, it seemed to work for a while, even though there were lots of arguments and hurts. As I grew and began to mature, my husband became more controlling. Finally, after some serious confrontations and my own attempt to seek counseling, we separated. I still held out hope that things might work out. I know now that God was in charge of all these events, but it was difficult to see that at the time. When my husband filed for divorce, I had just started to return to school, something that was a point of contention, and was continuing with counseling. So I became very busy with trying to support the children, complete my nursing program, and keep off of welfare. God blessed me during those years with help in the form of scholarships, grants, subsidized housing, and food stamps. It was a struggle, and there were times I didn't go to Mass because part of me felt I did not belong there because I was divorced. I tried dating for a while, but nothing really worked out. My sister talked to me about obtaining an annulment for my marriage. At first, I didn't think I could do that because we were married in the Catholic Church. She had worked some with the marriage tribunal. So, at her suggestion, I went and talked with my pastor and filled out the application. About that time, I began to get more involved with the parish. When I received the list of questions from the tribunal, I found it too overwhelming at the time, so I laid it aside. Finally, during one season of Lent, I sat down and wrote out my answers, the story of my life and my marriage. It was a penance indeed and had a cleansing effect on my personal self. 3 years later, I received my annulment. At this time, I was more active in parish work, pro life, Rosary Society, religious education teacher. I began to think about religious life, talked with my sister, my pastor, and prayed, asking God to lead me where He wanted me. I found out that my annulment freed me to marry in the church or to become a religious if I wanted. During the years, I visited my sister frequently at Our Lady of Peace Convent, the new foundation from St. Scholastica, where she was part of at her various mission assignments. We really became more acquainted since we were able to travel more. Along with my sister, I became acquainted with the other sisters in her community. And most importantly, I began to think about joining a religious community. In my discernment, I investigated more communities, but the Benedictine values and charism had always attracted me. I had begun to pray the Liturgy of the Hours in my own home. My children were grown and on their own. In 1999, after visiting the monastery for a week, I decided to ask to become an affiliate and was accepted. Then in 2000, after selling my house in 3 days, I left and came to Columbia to become a postulant in the community of Our Lady of Peace Monastery. I was led to this particular community because my sister was a member, and I liked it ministries the sisters were involved in, the prayer life, and the value of community. By the time I entered, I was a registered nurse working in that ministry. Some of the gifts I brought to community were my eagerness to learn, my love of prayer, my willingness to participate actively in community life, my love of gardening, my life experiences, and how they had helped to make me the person I am. I also brought a love of people and the Benedictine way of life. I believe the things I appreciated most about my Benedictine way of life are the community aspect, which reminds me of my family with love and concern, as well as struggles. I have had the privilege of being included in the workshops and struggles / challenges in my community from the beginning of my formation. I also love the prayer life of my Benedictine community with the Psalms, readings, and music. I have been working to learn to play the organ so I can assist the other two musicians in the community, and this is a joy for me. I think I have addressed all the gifts of monastic life except for one, which is very important to me: the freedom to grow spiritually wherever God is calling you, and the ability to learn new things. Probably the biggest challenge about monastic life is just the very act of living together and truly listening to one another, even when it is the person you have the most difficulty with. I like to say to my friends, just imagine many women living in the same house, using the same kitchen and the same washing machine, and I will leave the rest up to your imagination. In March 2008, I made the decision to transfer to St. Scholastica Monastery in Fort Smith, Arkansas, the founding house of Our Lady of Peace Monastery. I was welcomed by the sisters and I'm comfortable with my decision. In June of 2011, I made my final vows. Currently, I minister in the reception office, the gift shop, as hairstylist, and by accompanying the divine office. One of my joys is being able to volunteer at Heart to Heart, a pregnancy support center here in Fort Smith. To any young woman considering the monastic life, pray to God and listen to God. Visit different communities and learn their lifestyles. Our monastic life is a quiet and holy one, a very rewarding life. It consists of prayer and work. Through prayer and quiet listening, God will let you know what is right for you.